Good morning, students. I hope all of you are doing well. Now, this is your lecture 4 of Mathematics, Class 8th, Chapter 10, Visualizing Solid Shapes. Today's topics are, first of all, we will revise the previous concepts, the concepts which we have studied in the previous lecture. Then we will discuss more about prisms and pyramids. We will discuss the homework solutions. These are the topics which will be discussed in this lecture number 4. Let us first of all see or revise what we have done in the previous lecture. We have studied about polyhedrons and non-polyhedrons, types of polyhedrons, formation of solids or formation of polyhedrons. Let us understand or revise what are polyhedrons. So what do you mean by a polyhedron? Solids with flat surfaces are called polyhedrons or polyhedra. Or we can say a solid made up of polygonal regions is called a polyhedron, or solids with flat surfaces are called polyhedrons, and the other name of polyhedron is polyhedra. Examples are cubes, cuboids, prisms and pyramids. These are the examples which we will be studying in this chapter in detail. Solids with flat surfaces are called polyhedrons or polyhedra, or a solid made up of polygonal regions is called a polyhedron. And the examples of polyhedrons are cubes, cuboids, prisms and pyramids. These are the examples, these are the figures which you can see, cubes and cuboids. Prisms and pyramids we will study in detail in this lecture. Now, what are non-polyhedrons? Solids with curved faces are called non-polyhedrons. Examples: spheres, cylinders and cones. They are not polyhedrons because these are not made up of polygonal regions, or these are the solids with curved faces. And we know that we have studied that solids with flat surfaces are polyhedrons and solids with curved faces are called non-polyhedrons. Examples of polyhedrons are cubes, cuboids, prisms and pyramids. And what are non-polyhedrons? Solids with curved faces are called non-polyhedrons. And the examples of non-polyhedrons are spheres, cylinders and cones. Why? Because they are not polyhedrons, because they are not made up of polygonal regions, or they are having curved faces. They are not having flat surfaces or flat faces. Coming to the types of polyhedrons, we have studied about 4 basic types of polyhedrons: convex polyhedrons, concave polyhedrons, regular polyhedrons and irregular polyhedrons. These are the 2 figures of convex polyhedron and concave polyhedron. Let us see or revise what do you mean by convex polyhedrons. Polyhedrons that are made up of convex polygons are called convex polyhedrons. Polyhedrons that are made up of convex polygons are called convex polyhedrons. So what do you mean by convex polygons? A polygon in which each interior angle is less than 180 degree is called a convex polygon. First of all, you should know, I told you earlier also, what do you mean by a polygon? A simple closed curve made up entirely of line segments is called a polygon. And what do you mean by a convex polygon? A polygon in which each interior angle is less than 180 degree is called a convex polygon. And a polyhedron that is made up of convex polygon is called a convex polyhedron. You can see from the first example, that is a convex polyhedron. In this, it should be a convex polygon, It should be made up of convex polygon. And what do you mean by convex polygon? In which a polygon in which each interior angle is less than 180 degree, and in this first figure all the interior angles are less than 180 degree, so it is a convex polyhedron. Coming to concave polyhedron. Polyhedrons that are made up of concave polygons. Now, what do you mean by concave polygon? A polygon in which at least one interior angle is greater than 180 degree is called a concave polygon, and a polyhedron that is made up of concave polygon is known as a concave polyhedron. So you can see in the second figure, in this it is clearly visible that at least it should have at least one interior angle greater than 180 degree. So it is clear from the figure that it is a concave polyhedron. After that, we have studied about regular polyhedron and irregular polyhedron. These are the two examples of regular polyhedron and irregular polyhedron respectively. First one is regular polyhedron, that is a regular hexagon. This is an example of regular polyhedron. Second one is an example of irregular polyhedron. So first see, what do you mean by a regular polyhedron? Polyhedrons that are made up of regular polygons. Now, what do you mean by regular polygons? A polygon which has all its sides of equal length and all its interior angles of equal measure is called a regular polygon. For example, equilateral triangle and square are regular polygons. You can see, you can understand it better with the help of these two examples. What do you mean by regular polygons? A polygon which has all its sides of equal length and all its interior angles of equal measure is called a regular polygon. And a polyhedron that is made up of regular polygon is called a regular polyhedron. Simple as this. So equilateral triangle and squares are the examples of regular polygons, and this regular hexagon is again an example of regular polyhedron. Then we have irregular polyhedron, the polyhedrons which are made up of a polygon, which are polyhedrons that are made up of irregular polygons. What do you mean by irregular polygon? A polygon which is not regular definitely is called an irregular polygon. So I hope, and this irregular hexagon is an example of irregular polygon, so is the example of irregular polyhedron. So I hope with the help of these two examples you can get a view what do you mean by a regular polyhedron and what do you mean by irregular polyhedron. As these are first one is a regular polygon, that is it can be a part of regular polyhedron. Second one is irregular polygon, that is a part of irregular polyhedron. Coming to prism now. If the top and bottom of a polyhedron are a congruent polygon and its lateral faces are parallelogram in shape, then it is said to be a prism. So what do you mean by a prism? A polyhedron whose base and top are congruent polygons and whose lateral faces are parallelograms in shape is called a prism. A prism is named after its base. If the base is triangle, then it is a triangular prism. If the base is a rectangle, then it will be a rectangular prism. If the base is a pentagon, then it will be a pentagonal prism. If the base is hexagon, then it will be a hexagonal prism. So a prism is named after its base. And another thing is, the definition of prism is, if the top and bottom of a polyhedron are a congruent polygon and its lateral faces are parallelogram in shape, then it is said to be a prism. These are the two figures of a prism. Here in the first figure, it is a base and top are congruent rectangles and lateral faces are rectangles, and we know that a prism is named after its base, so it will be a rectangular prism. Second one, in this base and top are congruent triangles and lateral faces are rectangles, and the prism is named after its base and the base is a triangle, so it will be a triangular prism. So the very first example is of rectangular prism, second example is of triangular prism. Now coming to types of prisms. Triangular prism, I told you with the help of figure also. Again, let us see what is the definition of triangular prism. A prism whose base and top are congruent triangles and lateral faces are rectangles is called a triangular prism. Simple as this. We have seen the figure also in the previous slide. Coming to rectangular prism. A prism whose base and top are congruent rectangles and lateral faces are rectangles is called a rectangular prism. Then hexagonal prism. So what do you mean by a hexagonal prism? With the above these two definitions, you will be able to write the definition of this hexagonal prism. So what will be the definition? A prism whose base and top are congruent hexagons and lateral faces are rectangles is called a hexagonal prism. You must have seen that in the prism, mainly the top and base should be congruent polygons and lateral faces are fixed, that is parallelogram in shape. So you can easily identify which type of figure is a triangular prism, rectangular prism or hexagonal prism. Now the figures of triangular, rectangular and hexagonal prism. These are the two figures of triangular prism. Top and top and base are congruent triangles in the first case, and the side or the lateral faces are rectangles, so it is a triangular prism. Second is a rectangular prism, a prism whose base and top are congruent rectangles and lateral faces are rectangles is called a rectangular prism. Coming to hexagonal prism. Hexagonal prism, in this figure, a prism whose base and top are congruent hexagons, you can see from the figure, and lateral faces are rectangles, so it is called a hexagonal prism. Simple as this. I hope this prism in detail is very much clear to you. Coming to pyramids now. This is another important type of polyhedron which you should know. So, a polyhedron whose base is a polygon of any number of sides and whose lateral faces are triangles with a common vertex is called a pyramid. So, a polyhedron whose base is a polygon, that is of any number of sides, and whose lateral faces are triangles with a common vertex. In prism, the lateral faces were parallelograms, and in this pyramid, the lateral faces should be triangles and they should be tied with a common vertex. Then it will be a pyramid. Pyramid is again named after its base. Prism, as I told you that it is named after its base. In the same case, in the same way, pyramid is also named after its base. These are the two figures of the pyramid. Their base is a polygon and lateral faces are triangles with a common vertex in both the figures. So these are the two figures of pyramid. Coming to types of pyramids. First type is triangular pyramid. So what do you mean by a triangular pyramid? A pyramid whose base is a triangle is called a triangular pyramid. It is also known as tetrahedron. Triangular pyramid, what do you mean by a triangular pyramid? A pyramid whose base is a triangle is called a triangular pyramid, and because all the lateral faces are triangles, that is fixed one, they should be tied with a common vertex. So, and I told you that a pyramid is also named after its base. So, a pyramid whose base is a triangle is called a triangular pyramid. It is also known as a tetrahedron. So, what is the other name of triangular pyramid? It is tetrahedron. Coming to rectangular pyramid. A pyramid whose base is a rectangle, simple as this, is called a rectangular pyramid. If you are writing here a pyramid, then you are not supposed to mention again and again that lateral faces are triangles with common vertex. If you are writing polyhedron, then you need to define it completely, that a polyhedron whose base is a triangle and whose lateral faces are triangles with a common vertex, then it will be a triangular pyramid, or it is a tetrahedron. Same is the case with rectangular pyramid. Hexagonal pyramid. What do you mean by a hexagonal pyramid? A pyramid whose base is a hexagon is called a hexagonal pyramid. Simple as this. Coming to the figures of rectangular and triangular pyramid. These are the two figures of rectangular and triangular pyramid. Base is a rectangle, lateral faces are triangles with a common vertex. So it is first one is a rectangular pyramid. Second one, base is a triangle, lateral faces are triangles with a common vertex. So second one is a triangular pyramid. Coming to again, we can compare a rectangular pyramid and hexagonal pyramid together. Like in the first figure, the base is a rectangle, lateral faces are triangles with a common vertex, so it will be named after its base, that is a rectangular pyramid. Second one is a hexagon, base is hexagon, lateral faces are triangles with a common vertex, that is again a hexagonal pyramid. That is a hexagonal pyramid. I hope prisms and pyramids, its definitions and its various types are very much clear to you. So coming to the homework part of today's lecture is, that is you are supposed to do the questions from exercise 10.3. Complete question 3 in NCERT book. Complete question 4 and 5 in homework notebook. These are the 3 questions. First one is to be, that is question number 3 is to be done in the book, and question number 4 and 5 are to be done in the homework notebook. So not I am summarizing this chapter now. In this I'm summarizing this lecture now. In this lecture we have first of all we have revised the previous lecture concepts. After that we have studied prisms and pyramids in detail. Like, what do you mean by a prism? A polyhedron whose base and top are congruent polygons and whose lateral faces are parallelograms in shape is called a prism. And we have seen the various types of we have seen the various types of prisms, and like triangular prism, rectangular prism, hexagonal prism, and a prism is named after its base. A prism whose base and top are congruent triangles and lateral faces are rectangles. In the definition we have studied that lateral faces are parallelograms, and here I am saying that lateral faces are rectangles. So rectangle is a type of parallelogram, so it is fulfilling the definition of prism. A prism whose base and top are congruent triangles and lateral faces are rectangles is called a triangular prism. Same in the same case, in the same way, a prism whose base and top are congruent rectangles and lateral faces are rectangles is called a rectangular prism. It is also a cuboid. And then we have studied about hexagonal prism. A prism whose base and top are congruent hexagons and lateral faces are rectangles is called a hexagonal prism. Then after that we have studied about pyramid. A polyhedron whose base is a polygon and whose lateral faces are triangles with a common vertex is called a pyramid. And a pyramid is also named after its base, like the prism. So we have studied about various types of pyramids: triangular pyramid, rectangular pyramid, hexagonal pyramid, and likewise you can have square pyramid also, pentagonal pyramid also. So a pyramid whose base is a triangle is called a triangular pyramid. It is also known as tetrahedron. The other name of triangular pyramid is tetrahedron. A pyramid whose base is a rectangle is called a rectangular pyramid. Likewise, you can define pentagonal pyramid, square pyramid. So a pyramid whose base is a pentagon is called a pentagonal pyramid. Hexagonal pyramid, a pyramid whose base is a hexagon is called a hexagonal pyramid. I hope you will be able to do the questions allotted to you from exercise 10.3. Let us discuss now homework solutions of the previous lecture. Question number 1. Can a polyhedron have for its faces 3 triangles? Second part is 4 triangles. Third part a square and 4 triangles. In this we need to tell whether it is, if a polyhedron has 3 triangles, is it possible to have a polyhedron of this kind? First part answer is no. Why? Because to get an enclosed figure I need to get 4 triangles at least. It should have minimum 4 faces. So a polyhedron has minimum 4 faces, then only it will be possible. Otherwise, with 3 triangles, it is not possible to have a polyhedron, because a polyhedron should have minimum 4 faces to get an enclosed figure. Second part, 4 triangles. Yes, a triangular pyramid is the good example of this, because it has 4 triangular faces. What do you mean by a pyramid? A pyramid whose base is a triangle and the lateral faces are also triangles with a common vertex. So that will be a triangular pyramid. So this is the answer of this part is yes, 4 triangles are there in this triangular pyramid. And we have learned that the other name of triangular pyramid is tetrahedron. Then a square and 4 triangles. Yes, this is also possible because a square pyramid has a square on its base and lateral faces are triangles with a common vertex. So again the answer of this part is yes. So in the first part answer is no. Why? Because a polyhedron has minimum 4 faces, can have minimum 4 triangles. So 3 triangles are not possible. 4 triangles, yes, a triangular pyramid is the example of having 4 triangular faces. Then a square and 4 triangles, yes, again this is possible because the base is a square and the lateral faces are triangular. So I hope all the 3 parts are clear to you. Coming to question number 2, is it possible to have a polyhedron with any number of faces? Yes, it is possible, but only if the number of faces are greater than or equal to 4. We have seen that to get an enclosed figure, we need to have 4 triangular faces. Like we have seen in the very first part of first question, triangular pyramid is the answer of this question. So the minimum number of faces should be 4. It can be greater than 4 also, but minimum should be 4. So the answer of this question is yes, it is possible, but if the number of faces are greater than or equal to 4, then only it will be possible. Otherwise, we have learned that to get an enclosed figure, minimum 4 triangle faces can be there. Like triangular pyramid is the best example from which you can understand it well. Thank you so much.